All right, today we are going to start removal of the ABS modulator in the GX. It's working fine, but I actually got the part at a fantastic price from shopping around here in Phoenix, and I figured I could put this new one in after it being 150,000 miles and etc. So we're in Phoenix. It's hot. It's 100 degrees. I got the shade going. I got the fan going. And the idea is to get under here. So under here, which is hard to see, there's the brake arm. And then it attaches up here with a cotter pin. And then once you do that, there are 4 bolts that keep the brake in, but you can't see a lot of it. So what I'm going to do is take all of the trim molding off, get it all off, get it onto the ground, unhook most of it, see how it works, and then we'll start taking apart under there. And once you take the 4 bolts out from under there, that thing, after you take the 4 brake lines off under the hood, just slides right out. So I'm not going to film absolutely everything, but I'll get as much as I can to show you what's going on. Oh, by the way, I started this about 10 minutes ago. So this comes off with one screw, and there's a couple of bolts here, here, and here. I'm going to take this off, and then there's one behind this. You can see it down there. This is the footrest, and it just sits on these 2 pegs. It takes a little bit of elbow grease, but I'm using my removal tool to pop that out. So we're gonna pop this out, get this thing undone, and then we're gonna drop this whole thing off and do some unhooking of the wires. So you got to pop this whole cover out, but that's not a big deal. So you get that out, you get this bolt done. All of this pops out very easily and drops down. There are connections on this side here, and then all of these connections. I'm going to try and keep these connections good, swing this thing out and up, and maybe bungee it to this so that I don't have to undo all these connections. But if I do, they're just clips in and they all can't be mistaken. So we'll see how that works. I'll let you know in the next clip. All right, got that off. That took a few minutes because there's a couple of those plugs, but you can see I left all of this stuff in, plugged in, and then put the light down here. Try and show you where the stuff is. So without getting in there all right. There's one bolt, and then there's another one directly above it. And then there's another one. The light doesn't want to stay there. But it's magnetic. So if you can see the tip of the tool back here, there's one there. And get a better shot of this. Okay. Okay. Right there is the one bolt. Come over here so it focuses. And that's the one bolt, and then right up above it there is the other one. So they're not going to be hard to get to. Just need a long socket and a long reach and an elbow to get up in there. And once you break those free, the other ones are right there. So you break those three free, and then the thing should pull out right from the front pretty easily. Okay, the plunger that goes in there is held on by this cotter pin right here. So you got to slide that cotter pin out, and then that'll drop the brake pedal here. The two bolts back there, easy. These two over here I got to figure out on the other side a little bit more. So I'll tell you how I got back there. Okay, to get access up there to those bolts, I had to take that 10mm bolt off there. This is a little bit different, it seems, on this 2004 GX, and then just slide this over and they'll get up there and loosen those up. Okay, these bolts are a bear. So pull that to the side, get those two out up there. And then for these two back there, you got to hand loosen them, save them. Everything should be ready now to pop it out from the inside, which means this should really, as you can see, be loose. So I'm gonna get some rags, gonna undo these brake lines right here with I think it's a 10mm. I'll get that, and then we're just gonna pull that whole thing out of there. Okay, call me nerdy, but I like to label stuff and take pictures before I do it so that I can get it back together correctly like I do with electrical. So I labeled A to A, B to B, C to C, 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4. I know this one's coming out, but that's all right. We're gonna be fine. So then this is a 10mm, and we're just gonna loosen it up there and then start soaking up any brake fluid that comes out, and then we're gonna put just some blue tape around these to keep dirt out of it. Alright, so these are the 10mm that have to come out of here. I did the bolts under it first, and which makes it loose. The problem that you run into there is these brake lines start to hold it in there because they're the only thing attached to the truck now. So I get all these out, and this thing should just pull out. Okay, pause it. I got all the brake lines disconnected, and all the electrical disconnected. Everything inside is disconnected, and we'll see if the plastic here impedes us, but this is supposed to. Bad. I pause it. And then I forgot these two electrical connections down here in the front. Just focused on these, but now we got them all undone. And these brake lines moved a little bit. just comes out. Stop. Okay, so you can see the firewall right here. Cool thing is, if you ever want to run an auxiliary, I believe that's the plug for an auxiliary line in there. But so this is where you're going to go to push that thing back in, and then it'll wrap around the brake pedal, and you do the cotter pin and the other pin. But these, you want to make sure the brake lines are in good shape, don't have any garbage on them. Wipe them off. I'm going to put some just blue tape on it. Make sure that they're not scuffed or have any garbage, etc. So I'm going to give them a wipe, and then we're going to stop here for today because it's 105 and I'm burning, and then we will slide a new one in maybe tonight or tomorrow morning. Alright, this is the new part. See it right there. Got this in Tempe, Arizona. So shiny and clean. I don't even want to use it. We'll take it out. Okay, this is not rebuilt. This is brand new. Every bit of it. It has the gasket on it. And then slide that right in there. Tighten the bolts up on the inside first. Make sure that the plunger is good in there. And then we'll start putting the lines on. It's talking out.
Okay.
That's easy. I got the software. When this goes in, this has to be this way so that the pin and the cotter pin that goes on the driver's right side when you're sitting in it, the pin goes in this way, the cotter pin goes in here. Okay, pause it for 1 second. So, come in closer. Pause it. Okay, you ready? Something. Something's holding it up. Okay, pause it. Okay, so the problem getting this in here was that the holes down here in through the firewall were slightly misaligned. So my right-hand man, cameraman from a second ago, was inside and just grabbed the plunger a bit to put it in there. So now you can see where these two are going to line up here, and these two are going to line up here and here. So we'll get that going in a minute. First we got to tighten up what's going on inside on those bolts. Apologies for the fan, but that's the plunger from outside with the cotter pin in it, all the bolts, Well, all the bolts are in. Maybe this way. So you can see the 4 bolts. We got to tighten them down first, get it all locked in, and then we'll put the brake lines on. Alright, everything's in nice and tight on the inside. I got the cotter pin in like I showed you. That's all lined up. This is all in and just shiny and no dirt. I'm going to hook the electrical up in a bit, but first I'm going to get all the brake lines in, make sure they're all good. Then we'll fill it up. I got a gallon of the fluid from Walmart, and I think that was $24 for the gallon, which is a steal instead of buying the 32 ounces from any place else. So we'll fill this up, burp it, leave the top open, and then start putting the or bleeding everything at each wheel. I'm going to start in the passenger rear first. That's the furthest line. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to start bleeding them after that. Okay, getting these lined up is key, but you shouldn't have to use any force on them. Pull the nut here to all the way to the end of the brake line. Line it up, and this is super easy. You strip this and you're hosed. So tighten with care, not going crazy tight. We'll get it to there, and then we'll do it 1/8 of a turn tight, and we're going to leave it like that until we get everything filled up. So now we're going to plug everything in. That would be clicking, click, 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 click. Electrical is hooked up. Lines down here, so you got all 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one seems squirrely, but that's just because it's hooked back there by that. So you can see it just move a little bit, not a big deal. All these lines are hand tight. I can take my labels off now because we don't need them. All right, we're gonna fill this up and then we're gonna bleed it before we start it, and then we'll start it and let the pump that's actually under here work and start moving some stuff, and we'll bleed it again. And I got a gallon of this stuff. Actually, I have a lot more than a gallon, but we'll bleed it until we're good. Okay, this is the first fill. I got it up to the top of the max line. This thing was full up to here, and that's after the first fill that I got right here. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put the top just resting on it so it still bleeds. I'm going to put this down here. And then here is the bleeding tool. Harbor Freight, used it before, works great. So I'll show you how you hook it up, and then you pump it out and what to do about air bubbles and what the air bubbles look like, and then I'll do a actual actually do it after they've been bled with this. I'm going to bleed it again using actual brakes and turning the car on and off, and that way, so we do it twice. So you pressurize it, okay, and it runs up the tube. I jam it under the wheel here to keep this thing from moving. Put the wrench on first, then slide the tube on, and then as you loosen this, of course, I did it backward, and you heard the vacuum there. Tube on, pressurize it, and then you'll see that start to come out here. Okay, got the pump on there. Put the wrench on first, then the hose, then pressurize it. You don't have to pressurize it. I do. Doesn't make a difference. Okay, and then this thing. Okay. And then that starts to pull out everything. Now, you see all these air bubbles. There's not that much air in the line because I've already bled this before, but it's pulling it from what is between this nipple here, the air that leaks in through that, and then the fluid out of there. So again, kudos to the car care nut Toyota guru teaching us that. But you do it this way first, and then you can do it by pumping the brake inside, and that'll just actually push a clear line of fluid out of there. So you do this for all four wheels. All right, everything is manually bled with the pump, and I've got this up to here, and then everything looks good there and there. And now I'm going to start it. Somebody else holding the camera, and what you're going to hopefully be able to hear is right down there under that red tube is the pump that usually goes out. It wasn't out on my other one, but that's what usually goes out. You can get them rebuilt. There's a guy on eBay who sells them. I think they're like 400 bucks for that, and that's the piece that generally goes out. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the sound is like. You should hear that, you know, solenoid pumping in right after it starts, and you could you'll be able to see the line go down. So I'll have him film it from here at the max level, and then we'll see how it works.
All right.
When it's running, see the seconds going on it?
Yeah.
Hear it?
Yeah, I hear it.
All right, that is the solenoid pumping it, and you can see
Yep.
the line going down here. Back it up a little bit. Good, keep it going. You never want to get too little. All right. Cap on. Now we'll start it. So what we want to look at is any of the brake lines that we've got, just to see if there's any brake fluid coming out of them. Doesn't look like it there. And then Alright. So now we'll put the inside back together and then we'll test it again.